I saw that people were taking glee in the demise of what I consider to be our hockey team. A hockey team could be owned by one person or a corporation, but it belongs to the community. And that means that the hearts and guts of hockey fans were ripped out when that happened.
Many people
Whoop.
know the name Tom Galvin at this point, the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors chair, who in January announced the formation of a committee of political and business leaders to bring the NHL back to Arizona. And we are very excited and feeling very fortunate enough to have the chance to bring him in onto the show. So without further ado, Tom, welcome to the PHNX Hockey Show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Awesome, guys. Thank you for having me. Hopefully you can hear and see me well.
Yes, we can.
There's a lot of us on this
good.
screen, so we gotta squeeze them all in, Tom.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, I first off, thank you so much. I know how busy you are between the two gigs that you have. But I guess I'll just start out with a nice softball question for you, Tom. Just the easy questions to begin with. So who's the owner going to be? Where's the arena going to be? And when will Coyotes 2.0 play their first game?
Well, let's just say you're going to be the owner, so let's just work on the other stuff. How about that?
Let's go. Yeah,
Breaking news.
That. He's got all that money.
I'm a little short on cash for that. Tom, in all seriousness, though, we've talked about your involvement in this. I know, having talked to you over the years, what a huge Coyotes fan, what a huge hockey fan you are, and how important it was to having this franchise in the Valley. So maybe just talk about, to begin with, your involvement in forming this committee. What sparked all of this? What made you want to do this in the first place? This committee of business leaders, politicians, et cetera, to try and bring the NHL back to the Valley.
Yeah. Well, first of all, guys, thank you very much for having me as a guest. It's an honor. But think about it, right? We're a year on from the Coyotes being announced that they're leaving town, and your show is still thriving and growing, which is a testament not only to your guys' talents, but also just the love for hockey and this great, amazing hockey fan base that we have here in the Valley. I'm just one hockey fan out of thousands, tens of thousands of hockey fans here in the Valley. And what happened was that I've been in elected office for maybe just the last 3+ years, but I consider myself a sports fan, a dad, a family guy, and just a guy who also works here in the Valley as well. I hate the word politician. For me, this is public service because I still keep my other job, my day job. But when I saw what happened to the Coyotes, and I've mentioned this before, to me, what really upset me was when it was finally announced that the Coyotes were leaving, the name Coyotes had become almost like a pejorative or a joke with people who are not hockey lovers or don't pay attention to it. And I saw that people were taking glee in the demise of what I consider to be our hockey team. A hockey team could be owned by one person or a corporation, but it belongs to the community. And that means that the hearts and guts of hockey fans were ripped out when that happened. And I looked to my left and I looked to my right, and I didn't see anyone doing anything about it. And then I reminded myself that I'm in elected office for the time being. And if anyone's going to try to do something, why not me? And so I thought about it. I thought about the things that I would like to see happen if I was a hockey fan. And I said, you know what, let me just see what I can do. And what I did was I cold called Gary Bettman. And I made a call out to the NHL. And I said, I just want you to know that we don't hate the Coyotes. There are politicians here, public servants here who care about what happens in the Valley. And we think that hockey can be, should be, will be a success here in the Valley. And that really started it. And I just want to give Commissioner Bettman a lot of credit because he had been through a lot. The NHL had been through a lot. They had spent a lot of money, considerable political capital here, and got burned over and over again, not just by previous ownership and previous front offices that frankly screwed up in many ways, but also by local leaders who didn't really coalesce and really put together the right coalition to get it started. So I laid out the vision that I had, and I just said, hey, this is something that I want to do, that I want to work on. And he said, go for it. And he's been a great partner.
Tom, I want to follow up on that last subject that you were talking about, the lack of political support. You and I have talked about this a few times. How much of that do you think was the current political climate versus the ownership groups with which they were dealing at the time?
It's a combination of both. There are two sides of a coin. If you are going to be running a professional sports franchise in which the valuations of these companies, let's call them that, it's a business, are worth billions, you need to make sure that the people who are owner of these companies and really are the stewards are going to be good at what they're doing, and they have to be honest brokers. But at the same time, we need political leadership as well to level with folks and to work with local community folks and to assemble stakeholders and move things along the right way. To me, it's about putting together puzzle pieces. As an attorney who's worked on deals, as an attorney who's represented sports teams, I look at it as a puzzle. I know all the pieces that need to go in there. We all do. But who are the folks who are going to work together and say, let's put this puzzle together? When we're kids and we're working on a puzzle, there's always that one kid who bails out early to go play video games, right? It's the other kids that need to stick together and work and make sure that that puzzle gets done. And it's not a puzzle if it's half done. It's not a puzzle if it's three-quarters done. It's a puzzle once the whole thing is done. And so, for example, if we walk through what happened with the state land auction, I just call that whole thing a shambolic process, where the previous ownership group of the Coyotes, they staked everything on that. They said, we're going to get it. We're going to have it. Here's a date that's going to happen. And state leaders were quiet. Government officials in charge of it were quiet. And then what happens 2 days before the state land auction is supposed to occur? It gets pulled. And instead of people saying like, oh my gosh, how could this happen? People just started laughing and be like, well, there goes those Coyotes again. No, it's on all of us. It's on all of us as a community, because the rest of the country, frankly, North America and the hockey community starts asking, what the heck is going down there in Arizona and in Maricopa County? So those are the reasons.
Tom, I got a question for you too, and I know this is early days, and I'm not looking for, hey, what's going on in these in the secret meetings, but on a general terms, what are you getting positive feedback in the political and the business communities here in Arizona? Because I think that's something that was missed in the last ownership group. So your early conversations and just as this process gets going, are you getting positive feedback?
Yeah, so I was elected chairman by my colleagues in January, delivered a chairman's speech, talked about a whole wide variety of topics: economic development, water, transportation, housing, public safety, all really important stuff that's going on here. And in my speech, I mentioned that I like to form a community committee to bring hockey back to the Valley. And that got more attention than all the other stuff that I'm working on. I mean, I was just blown away by the reaction, which in many ways was great, but also was also overwhelming. But it just shows that there's a thirst and a hunger for people to see hockey back here. But there are certain people that I had in mind that I thought are essential to something like this being done the right way. Guys, let's think about all the cities that have lost professional sports teams, whether it's baseball, football, hockey, or basketball. Usually those cities don't get any team back. And if they do, it takes a while. I mean, how long did it take Winnipeg to get their team back? More than a decade, right? So this is a years-long process, but you have to prove and show that your community can earn back that team.
I have one more follow up to that too, and I think that I'm on this panel, and especially with Craig and I'm the more optimistic guy on the future of the National Hockey League coming back to Arizona, and I believe me. I know, I understand this is a long process, and the National Hockey League is just getting ready for playoffs. They're not going to talk about Arizona. It's not for months and months, potentially years. Deep down, though, this is personal. This isn't what you've built with the committee. Deep down, do you have some level of optimism that this is actually possible to get NHL hockey back in the state of Arizona?
Yes, for three reasons. One, I wouldn't be putting it in my speech in January if I didn't believe it. Two, I wouldn't be doing this interview if I didn't believe so. And three, I wouldn't be giving it all that I had 100% to make sure that I get this committee up and going. And we're going to work everything we can to answer those two questions regarding ownership and location. So yes, I'm optimistic. I'm an optimistic person by nature, but I can get angry. And I was pretty angry about the way the whole thing went down last year. And I think hockey fans here in Arizona deserve better. Not just better, deserve the best. And what I think what we need to do here is put together a process that is the best possible way to find an owner, to find a location, and to convince the NHL to finally say, yeah, this can work here.
Tom, you mentioned location. That has been the issue here for more than 2 decades. Is it still wide open? Are you still considering all possibilities? I know all these stakeholders that you're bringing in are probably going to bring their own opinion. So is it still wide open as to where this location might be?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'll be blunt. I think the location question is actually harder than the ownership question. There are lots of billionaires across North America who would love to own a professional sports franchise, much less an NHL franchise. I think we can find a good owner. I think what is essential for me and this committee is finding the right location. As you guys know, Maricopa County is involved with the D-backs and Chase Field, and look at the fight happening right now with the state legislature and the governor. And that's for a baseball team that's already playing in downtown Phoenix. For me, all options are open for location. Have to be really smart and strategic about that one.
And how can your expertise help on that front?
Well, for me personally, I'm a land use attorney, and I practice law here in the Valley, and my land use practice has taken me all across the state. I also worked on the downtown basketball arena, personally helped see that get approved just about, 5 or 6 years ago. Have worked with another professional sports team here in town that has cast about looking for a location. So I know the logistical challenges. I know the hurdles. I also know where the political roadblocks can be. And frankly, I also know when politicians can turn into demagogues. And last year, Scottsdale Mayor David Ortega blasted the Coyotes right before that state land auction was about to occur. Right in his backyard would have developed millions of dollars in revenue for the city of Scottsdale on a windfall basis. And he decided to use the team as a political victim here. And he just liked hitting them over the head with a club. So I understand how politics can get in the way. Also, there's a media component. You have to be very good about communicating your message to taxpayers, because ultimately, all public servants, we are steward of taxpayer dollars. We have to make sure that we're shepherding that money the right way. And lastly, I have to make sure that we are, and I'm not going to overpromise and underdeliver. And I think that has happened over and over and over again. And I know anyone who's listening right now who's absolutely thirsty and hungry for a hockey team to come back to the Valley does not want anyone here speaking to you guys and overpromising and under-delivering. So for me, I understand from my business background, it's got to be done the right way. You can't force it. You can't put the cart in front of the horse. There's a process to be done, and I know how to do it.
All right, last question from me. And I jokingly asked you about those timelines at the top of the interview, but just in terms of baby steps, in terms of inching along, what are the next steps in this process? What public-facing announcements can we expect maybe in the next months or year or so?
Yeah, before the year is out, I strongly believe that we're going to see a committee. I'm calling it a committee, but it's really an advisory panel. It's not an official arm of the county itself, but this is me assembling the best and the brightest, and it's a three-legged stool. It's hockey experts, it's business experts, and it's local political leaders who understand the levers of power and how that works. And you have to have all three working in conjunction at the same time towards the same goal. That would be what would be our next announcement. But for me, this is not about 10 steps, 12 steps, 15 steps. There's probably 99 or 100 steps to this process. And one of them is involving the right location for a building. You have to think about all these different things: workforce, traffic, environmental impact, infrastructure. All of those things, just before you even go vertical on a building, have to be considered. And you have to work with whatever local jurisdiction is there, whether it's a county, whether it's an Indian reservation, whether it's a city or a town. So all of those things have to come into play. What I want to do is show the NHL that we're doing it the right way and we're progressing. That's important. It's progress.
I want to say this was just more of a comment than a question, Tom. As someone that I love the game of hockey and I want to see it back in this community, but it gives me hope and confidence and belief to see someone like yourself that understands the landscape of what we're trying to do, is intelligent, and understands the importance of business and political communities coming together to get to this end process. I am thrilled that you are the face of whatever this is going to become, because I am going to leave this show today feeling more hope and more optimistic than I did as I drove into the studio this morning. So again, thank you so much for putting your heart and soul into this, because there are so many unseen people that you might not know that they're in the chat today or they're watching today that care about this deeply. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time and the time of your life to put into this for people that really do care.
Well, thank you. And also, I'm doing this interview because it's important. Some people laugh at me and go, "Oh, hockey or sports." It's important. It means a lot. The Valley has never lost a team. This has never happened before. And also, hockey is a beautiful sport. And I think hockey is great for kids. And one of the things I'd like to see, in addition to an NHL team, and I'm probably dreaming big here, but is to work with whoever the new ownership is in the new front office to make sure that we're growing the sport of hockey throughout the state of Arizona, that this is going to be Arizona's team. And there's going to be clubs and academies and all that stuff. We already produced a couple of great NHL professional players, but you don't have to have every kid be an athlete one day in the NHL. They just want them to love and grow the game of hockey. And I like to see that happen here. And that's all related to economic development. That's all related to community spirit. And that's all related to quality of life. These are all issues that are very important to me. And when the Coyotes left town, I really believe that an important piece of our community got ripped out. So
Tom,
thank you for having me.
I did want to ask you too, because, and you almost just kind of touched on it, and it may seem like an obvious question, but even as a former team employee, I get this question all the time from community members. What can people do today to help in this effort? What can community members do? Is there contact their local representative? Is it that simple? Is it activating more hockey opportunities in the Valley? How can people get involved and help today?
Wherever you can, email your city councilman, your mayor, your state legislator, the governor, and say, hey, we would love to see hockey here in Arizona. Keep your head up, keep your eye out, and just know that this is important. It's also an important economic development issue. But feel free to contact my office. I cannot believe how many people on their own back in January through February were emailing me, sending me DMs and say, I love hockey. Thank you for doing this. Or my business was involved with the Coyotes and we lost them and we lost a lot of money because of them leaving. That's important for us. So if you have a story about that, please send it to me. Also, we're collecting all the names of all the folks that have reached out, because I believe more beyond what we're going to do with this committee that will be tasked with finding an owner and location is to make sure that we're going to sell to the rest of the community that getting a hockey team back here is a good thing and the right thing to do.
Well, Tom, thank you so much for your time today. It really means a lot to not just us, but, we can see the comments pouring in the chat, thanking you for your support and what you're helping to do here for this community. So thank you. And if you ever want to talk about this further or as more things develop down the line, we'd love to have you on. So thank you.
I appreciate it, guys. It's not easy. I promise you I'm going to work hard. And all I ask is keep the faith.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thank you
Tom.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Tom.